Hi, I'm Natalia, and I'll be sitting down today with data and analytics thought leaders across the food and agri-tech industry to discuss their experiences in this space. From startups to well-established organisations, you'll get an insight into the world of how they work, their achievements, and you may also take some advice away with you today. Let's get into it.
Welcome to the Food for Thought series. At Orbition, we're currently conducting an interview series with current thought leaders in the data and analytics space. This will offer our audience a valuable insight into how these speakers conduct their data and analytics practice, whilst discussing their challenges and also giving advice for others as well. The interviewees you'll be hearing from are in the food and agri-tech industry, from startups to well-established brands, as they share their experiences, knowledge and learnings. So in today's mini interview, we'll be sitting down with Marta, who is the head of data at MyRealFood. She'll be delving into telling us more about this exceptional business that have a main feature on their app, which is leading to their success. So let's firstly set the scene for our audience today, Marta, and give them a bit of an insight into yourself and MyRealFood.
Sure. Hello, Natalia. Well, my name is Marta, to say. I'm the head of data at MyRealFood. I've been working there for 2 years now, but in general, I've been working for nearly 10 years in data teams. So I'm very into this. and MyRealFood is my current company. It's a company that created an app to build healthy habits for our customers. Which is unique intention is help people to have a healthy habits, and those goals are well, what we do to try to meet those goals are mainly two things. First, give them information about products that they can find in the supermarkets. We have a formula that rates those products, so they can, if they are in the supermarket, they can scan the product and see which is the rate of that product and see if it's healthy or not. And if it's not, we give them alternatives so they can choose something better. And the other main feature that we have to try to help our users is it's a meal plan in which we provide for them all the recipes and well, all the things that they have to eat during the week, based for sure in their informations, in their measures, in their characteristics, and for sure also in healthy recommendations that we include. And well, the app has other features too, which is a part in which our users share recipes. Also, there is a part in which you can track the food that you eat in case you want to do your own diet. And well, there is a lot of things within the app, but that's mainly it.
Amazing. And what makes MyRealFood, I suppose, different from other competitors, from your competitors, I guess?
Well, in my opinion, it's an app that gathers together a lot of different features that are very related between them. And what we have seen is that our competitors are very, they work just in one of those features. So we have a competitor in the recipes area, we have a competitor in the tracker area, we have a competitor in the meal plan. We don't have like a competitor itself, but well, nutritionists or people that shares their diets would be our competitors here. And we also have a competitor in the part of scanning products. But as I say, they are different companies with different apps, and we aggregate all them together. Yeah. So I think that's our potential.
Makes sense. And I know that we've had a couple of conversations discussing the app and the buzz around it as well, but it would be really good to give the audience today a bit of an insight into the main feature of the app and how you've built that algorithm.
Sure. Yeah, our main feature is the meal plan. Well, the name of it is Plan Plus within the app, but at the end it's a meal plan. And yeah, it has a very complicated algorithm underneath that our data science team built during some months until they got to it. So it has a lot of things to talk about. So first of all, about the algorithm, we can talk about the inputs it needs. And it has mainly 3 inputs, which is the user information. The second input would be the World Health Organization recommendations for a healthy diet or healthy habits. And the third thing is rules that we have built out of our users' feedback and complaints, also complaints, because that's what helped us to iterate the algorithm a lot until we met their expectations. And this part was very, very useful for us. So when talking about data from users, we are talking about their gender, their sex, their age. Can I start again this?
That's okay.
Yeah, when talking about user data, I'm talking about the gender, the age, their measures as the weight, their height, also the activity level they do during the week, if they are very active or they train a lot, or if they don't do so much. And also, what else? The goal they have, for sure, which is if they want to lose weight, if they want to maintain as they are, or if they want to gain muscle.
Okay.
And with all of this, and also, well, we also ask for other things are not so important, but for us, it's a way to personalize more the plan. We ask for intolerances. We ask for exclusions. For instance, if you don't like something, or for instance, you don't like eggs or bananas, you can exclude those ingredients from the list, and the meal plan will be created avoiding those because you don't like it. So it doesn't make sense that are included. And well, we also ask the type of meal that you prefer, if you are vegan, for instance, or vegetarian or not. And also the frequency that you want to change the recipes during the week. Well, I mean, the variety of them during the week, because maybe you want to repeat the same recipe 2 or 3 times per week because you prefer to do batch cooking, or you want to change every day the recipe. So we ask that too. So, well, with all of that, also you can say if you want to have just 1 meal per day, or 2 or 3. We let the user choose from 1 to 4. Maybe if the person is doing intermittent fasting, they can choose 2, wherever. Then the second input I was talking about was the World Health Organization recommendations for healthy habits, which contains a lot of stuff like 2 to 3 fruits per day, or the amount of protein that you have to consume during the week, or 2 to 3 times pasta or rice per week, you know, a lot of stuff regarding that. And the rules. The rules are very curious, but help us a lot to build the perfect plan. Some of those are, for instance, that people prefer more kilocalories at lunchtime than in the dinner time, because that's what they prefer. Also, things regarding the main ingredient, for instance, if they have at lunchtime a recipe that contains lentils, they don't want to have another dish with lentils until at least 2 days after. So we have a rule in which the main ingredient can't be repeated until 2 days after, you know, a lot of rules like this. Or maybe the kind of food. I mean, if we include a pizza on Monday, they don't want another pizza during the week, or they don't want to repeat kinds of food like pizza, burritos, stews, soups. So they were very good recommendations. With all of this, we can create with the plan, because first with the data from the user, we can calculate the amount of kilocalories and macronutrients they have to consume per day to match their goals.
Okay.
If they want, as I mentioned, lose fat, gain muscle, blah, blah, blah. And with all these recommendations, the algorithm creates a meal plan. And the base of the generator uses a recipes database that we have created with recipes that are all reviewed by our nutritionist to assure and verify that that the recipes are healthy, contains all the macronutrients and all the that the amounts are correct for sure.
Okay.
And with all of that, the algorithm create the plan. So yeah, based on the personalization I mentioned, you can imagine how many different plans we can create per week, because the level of personalization is super, super high. So yeah, that would be the algorithm.
No, the algorithm sounds great. It really does. And you guys, well, you say the algorithm, but you guys are behind the algorithm. So you can say So obviously knowing that, MyRealFood, they are at the beginning of this exciting journey. There's going to be so much success for this app in the future. Are there any improvements that you're working on to gain more attraction to the app, or any sort of improvements that you could give to our audience that you've had to work through?
Sure. Well, first of all, we are constantly listening to our customers. So because we want to include everything they need to get to their goals. So one of the things that they told us is that they want to include more things that are more personalized in their plans. And for instance, we now are working in a plan that is specific for pregnant women. Okay. So if in the first questions, as I mentioned, we will ask at some point if the person is pregnant or not, to take this into account to create all the plan, and assuring the person that the plan is going to be created with ingredients and recipes that are safe for pregnant women. Other things that we are already working in could be, we are doing our first tests with an artificial intelligence to create pictures, because we want to have more appetizing photos in our recipes. So we are trying that. So when you said you want to try it and you want to do that recipe. Where else we are working in also simplifying, or more than simplifying, trying to help our users to speed up the time they spend during while they are cooking their recipes. So for instance, we are including tips, or we don't know how to include it because we are working on it, but we are going to include something like, if you have a recipe in which you have to prepare rice, and the rice typically takes 20 minutes to be prepared, we are going to have a button or something like speed up this recipe, and that part of the recipe, the part of the rice, will change to get this kind of instant rice boxes, and cook it in the microwave for 1 minute, and these kind of things. And another thing that is very important we are working in is that we are going to include a training plan also in our Plan Plus. So you can have them both, the meal plan and also the training plan. So because at the end, what we want for our users is to have healthy habits in general. We focus at the beginning in food, but also the training is very important. So we have a lot of things in our backlog, but right now we are working on them on this I talk about.
No, it makes sense. There's a lot in the pipeline there
A lot.
for the yeah. But through, I suppose, building the feature itself, have you seen many challenges, when it comes to, I suppose, working out the recipes for the users?
Yeah.
I can imagine it could be quite difficult, as there might be people that don't like vegetables or don't like fruit. And is there any challenges around that as such?
Yeah, that part was very, very difficult because we let users exclude foods, and yeah, a lot of people don't like a lot fruits or vegetables, and it was very difficult because when we launched this feature, we had several users excluding all the fruits or all the vegetables, and suddenly our algorithm was like, I can't create a plan for you. Because, as I mentioned, we use some recommendations in which it's mandatory to eat fruits and vegetables every day.
Yep.
So what we did to avoid this was, well, in the list of exclusions, we put at the beginning the main things that people used to choose, which are more normal, common, and they have other alternatives, so they are not a problem. But things as important as vegetables and fruits are at the top, at the bottom, of the list. So if they are really into the aim of exclude them, they have to look for them a lot. So doing this, we realized that if it's easy, if it was at the beginning and it was easy for them, they mark them all. But if they are a bit high, they don't have so many problems with them. So that worked. And with this way, we get to the point in which all of our users could create a plan with all the recommendations and all the foods they have to take. Yeah.
Okay, amazing. Yeah, I can imagine that to be a bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
But knowing that, you're in a position with MyRealFood where you've got more than 450,000 users, I believe, that are already active on the app, and 40,000 of those are on the Plan Plus paid feature. There must have been some, aside from the challenges, must have been some benefits that you've seen from that, and I'm guessing that is just keeps growing and growing.
Yeah. And that's our fuel to continue with our task, because we have a lot of feedback from our users. Well, we are very present in social media, in Instagram and TikTok. So a lot of people write us through those platforms, and they give us for free their feedback constantly. It's incredible. The community is very happy with us, so they give us the feedback all the time. So I can tell you about different kind. We have like 4 different kind of feedback regarding the Plan Plus, and which people mention a lot of times. The first one would be related to people with some healthy problems, and they told us that they improve their symptoms a lot. Like, for instance, people with skin problems like pimples or these kind of things. They told us that they notice that their skin is better since they are eating healthier. Also, people with digestive problems like inflammation or constipation, they notice changes too in their daily basis. And what else? About blood levels. A lot of people told us that they had the cholesterol very high, and they used to take pills to get those levels down. And they have told us that they could reduce those levels just with the meal plan, and they finally could quit taking those pills, which is a very good news for us. because they don't depend on pills anymore. The second group of feedback, which is very important for us too, is related to people with eating disorders, people with bad relationship with foods, because they now can eat their favorite dishes and the things that they like, not feeling bad for it, not being worried, and enjoying the food more, because they were not doing it because they were doing maybe wrong choices of unhealthy products. And yeah, a lot of people talk about this, and for us it's very important. The third group of feedback, this is very funny because it's not related to food, but it's related to house organization. A lot of people, yeah, it's curious. A lot of people told us that they have saved a lot of time in their weekly tasks at home, because they don't have to think about what to eat during the week, neither what they have to buy in the supermarket. Because I didn't mention it, but apart from, well, after the meal is created, we have also a part in which you can create with just one click the shopping list for the supermarket based on the recipes. So all the ingredients and the quantities that are used in the recipe are instantly in the shopping list. So they have everything organized. So it's feedback is very, very good too, because at the end it's something else that it's helping our users. And well, the main feedback, I would say that 90% of our users told us that they lose weight, which is the most common goal. And that they are very happy because for them it wasn't like following a diet, but building habits. They learn how to eat healthier, they maintain those habits, and what the consequence of this is that they are not getting that weight back. So they are super happy. Yeah.
No, I can imagine. All good feedback there. All very good feedback. Yeah. So where do you think your MyRealFood is going to be in, say, the next 5 years? What are your hopes for the company, I suppose?
Very, very good question. I could say that, taking into account that we base all our decisions on what our customers needs, but also taking into account the technologies that are appearing, like ChatGPT and all this stuff, I think that the app in 5 years from now is going to be very, very different from what it is right now, because I think we are going to adapt to these new technologies, and we will do something with it. But well, on the other hand, if we talk about expansion, for instance, which is very important for us too, we are already, last year we opened in several countries. I think we are already in 8 different countries. So we are in the middle of our expansion project, and we are right now planning in opening in new countries. And in 5 years from now, I hope that we are widely used in all those countries, because that will mean that we are helping more and more people in building these healthy habits, and helping them also to get into their goals. So
Definitely a lot there for MyRealFood, and any of the audience watching today, definitely go check it out. Definitely worth exploring. Perfect. Well, Marta, thank you for being on the interview series today. You've given some great insight to what MyRealFood are doing at the minute. Thank you.
Welcome to the Food for Thought series, where we'll be sitting down with current thought leaders in the data and analytics space to offer you a valuable insight into how they run their practices and experiences. In today's mini interview, we'll be sitting down with Pablo, who is the Director of Data at Glovo, to discuss how Glovo measure the impact of their data and why this is valuable for them. So let's introduce Pablo. Let's firstly set the scene for our audience today and give them a bit of insight about yourself and how you got into the position that you are in.
Morning, Natalia. Thanks for having me. Thanks for inviting me. So I'm Pablo Giner. I am actually a mechanical and electronics engineer. I started my career far from data. I was always very close to programming, but I didn't imagine that I would end up where I am today. I actually started working in the automotive world. I worked initially as a racing engineer, and then I moved into Jaguar Land Rover, where I was working in the steering of different vehicles. And after that, I moved into the calibration of engines. And it was there when my role was about how to make our engine professionals more efficient in their work. And what we realized was that rather than giving them better tools, what they needed was the ability to better analyze the data that they were already collecting. And that's how I accidentally got across data. And from there, I have never left it. So we worked there in developing an infrastructure to allow everyone to analyze the data they were collecting from vehicles, so high frequency signals and so on. And after that, I was a data scientist working for Accenture. And then I've been building teams in different companies. I arrived in Glovo like 2 years ago. Yeah. And I arrived at a time when data was moving from being fully decentralized to more centralized. So we created kind of central processes, and we created a bigger group under which everyone could have good career opportunities. Everyone could understand what it meant to be a great data scientist, a great data engineer, or a great product or data analyst. And I've been a couple of years in this position, and it's been really, really exciting.
Amazing, amazing. And you're enjoying it at Glovo, I can imagine.
Definitely. It's very hectic, and there's tons of opportunities every day. So it is really nice, yeah.
Oh, that's great to hear. And obviously data is everywhere. And for the majority of businesses, the trick is how to harness its full potential. So how would you say that you go about measuring the data team at Glovo?
Cool. So for us, it's been an evolution. We, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, we were fully decentralized. Actually, data was born within the product organization. It was born kind of organically. Hey, we need a product analyst to help us analyze this opportunity. And that product analyst actually realized that they didn't have enough data to be able to do their job. So they started hiring data engineers. Then in other areas of our company, like logistics, they actually realized that they needed data scientists to be able to optimize the way in which we deliver our parcels and so on, and our food. So we started to kind of grow the data function, fully decentralized, and every area had their own hub. And this meant that we created great stuff, but at the same time, there was a lot of duplication. There was some areas that were super mature and really had very good practices and so on. But some other areas were the opposite. And in the end, like everyone was looking after their own their own area. And it was difficult to have cross-cutting initiatives that could raise the bar for the data function. So that meant that initially we didn't really measure data teams. Yeah. So we look at that, and this had some we created a data function. Yeah. Okay. And what this has allowed us to do is kind of having a cross-cutting function that really gives everyone the ability to understand what being great at data is. This function that we created 2 years ago has been evolving over time. And in the last year or so, we started looking at how to measure the impact of data teams.
Okay.
Yeah. data teams today are measured on a quarterly basis. Yeah, and what we do for that is we created our own framework, which looks at impact as intrinsic value. Yeah, okay. You can imagine for the stock market, yeah, when you measure the actual intrinsic value of a company, we try to reference or kind of share that parallel with our people and explain that if what you're doing in your project is actually increasing our ability to produce more revenue, to increase our profit, to produce savings, then that is creating intrinsic value for the company. Yeah, we started from being very kind of input focused, and when we look at, like, when we started doing that, everyone was, hey, I put this amount of time, I created, I have invested in this and that, and then we started moving through from the inputs, what everything was putting in, to what outputs are you creating, and really what are the outcomes. Yeah, and this in data is like, yeah, I've been investing in this project, and this has led to, hey, I have created these models, I have created these data sets, I have created these dashboards and so on. Yeah. But then how have the business metrics actually moved? Yeah. So by putting everyone focus on the actual outcomes, that means that it's not only about delivering the actual project, it's about going the last mile and making sure that this is used or pushing other parts of the organization. So this project actually gets implemented in product, or this dashboard get used throughout the company and so on. So we've made everyone focus on what is the outcome of the work they are doing. Okay. And then when we measure the impact on a regular basis, we look at it in a normalized way. We look at it in a monetary way. So okay. we actually measure teams by their how they impact the contribution margin of the company. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we try to go from the metrics that they have moved and how they map into actual, let's say, a normalized metric that we compare across teams. So it's been quite a journey from non-measuring any team to where we are today.
Very interesting. And I suppose having to do it that way, that's going to come with its benefits and it comes with its challenges. So I suppose firstly we look at the challenges that you've had at Glovo when, you know, measuring impacts that way. How's that been for you?
So yeah, there's been many. We put together this framework for measuring impact that we have shared with our community. And this framework has gone through already 4 different versions. And like, I think the last time I look at the statistic, it has had like over 800 comments from people across our organization and over 70 contributors to it. So it's really needed a lot of iteration to get it to where it is today. And these challenges have been, for example, the impact timeline. Yeah. So some projects that we work maybe have a length of maybe over a year. How do we deal with the impact timeline? And the way we have approached it is, for example, we look at how much, like, let's suppose that you stop working in a project today. Will that value that you say is going to be created will be created, or there's still some additional work to be done? Yeah. So let me give you a very typical example. What we do in marketing, we optimize how we distribute our budget to maximize the number of new customers that we acquire. Yeah, with our marketing efforts. Technically, like once you have invested that money, the benefit that you're going to get out of it is a number of new customers, and those new customers are going to have a lifetime value of X amount of euros. That's going to happen regardless if we do anything or not. Like, obviously, the company needs to be alive, and we need to be operating in that geography and so on. But that team doesn't need to do any additional effort. So what we do, like, the impact is measured as a projection of those new customers times the lifetime value of those customers over the next 3 to 5 years. This is going to give the company X amount of incremental revenue. Yeah. Okay. There are other instances in which the project is not really finalized. Maybe you have completed 80% of it, but without the last 20%, really the value is not there. So technically for those projects, there's not yet, like, we don't count that impact as realized. So for example, that's one of the challenges that we found, that how to kind of get everyone on the same page about when to count that impact. Yeah, how to deal with the impact timeline. Something else that we found is that data projects don't happen in a vacuum, and normally there are multiple teams involved. Yeah. And then if you are looking at the impact, well, what happens if this project is a shared, like it has had participating engineering teams and product teams, and we actually, the way we approach it is we talk about shared impact. Yeah. And we actually encourage the conversation between different teams to say, out of the total impact, how much is the contribution of each of the different parties participating in it? And these conversations are super useful because on the one hand, they raise awareness of the impact of the data function across different parts of the company.
Yeah.
And also it brings another set of eyes to challenge if the way that you are kind of estimated or counting that impact is correct. Yeah. So that's another of the challenges that we found. That, like, I have many more.
Can you keep going?
I can definitely keep going. Like something else we found is that the nature of data project is different. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So in a data project, what's like for us, we have different typologies, but I'll walk you through one of them, what we call a core initiative, which is what happens is that you go through discovery and hypothesis testing in a loop.
Okay.
Until you find that one of those hypotheses can work, then you implement it and deploy to all your population. Yeah. What happens is that the real impact only happens when the last bit happens, when you have actually released and it's being used and so on. So when we look at the nature of data projects, in that whole initiative, you have had multiple analysis, multiple A/B tests, experiment analysis, and so on. You cannot look at the impact of each of these individual pieces. Yeah, you need to look at the impact of the whole thing, and once it's been delivered. So trying to encompass data initiatives at that level is when you can measure the impact. If you try to go too granular, it's not going to work. Yeah, and that's all of the challenges that we have also found. Something else, and this is something that our community came to us and our managers came to us, and they were highlighting that, hey, if we this focus on impact can mean that we are very focused on short term and not long term, that we give up on innovation and so on. And the way we work around this limitation, if you want, is that we look at the concept of portfolio management. Maybe going back to the analogy of stocks. In stocks, you want to have stocks for different geographies, different size of companies, different type of industries, and so on. So you have a balanced portfolio. The same we encourage to do at senior manager level. We encourage that, yes, they need to have a balance of those, meaning that they need to have innovation projects and also short-term projects, because if you only have short-term projects, that means that your pipeline will dry up, and essentially you might be medium impact today, but in a certain period, you will definitely move to low impact. Yeah. But if you only do innovation, that means that maybe for the next year, you don't deliver real impact in all of your teams. So what we recommend is, hey, you have across all the different teams, we need to find a balance in which how much we dedicate to short-term versus long-term, and how are we kind of hunting for the initiatives of the future versus executing of what we have today. So
no, it makes sense. And I reckon a lot of other business will probably have those same challenges as well. But I suppose when you're looking at this, what would be the benefits? What would be, those outputs?
So for us, there are really two types of benefits. The tangible benefits, if you want, is that it gives us better visibility, so we make better decisions, and we say, let's invest more in this project, let's invest more in this team, or less, or it's as they capture both the impact in the last period and the impact that they want to make in the next period. So we can also see how predictable these teams are. Are they able to execute in what they say they want to execute? And if they are not, then we can diagnose what is going on, how can we help these teams, and so on. So those tangible benefits are the most obvious ones, and obviously we want to invest more in initiatives that have the biggest impact. But there is also the part of intangible benefits that I think is maybe more than half of the overall benefits are what I call intangible, which is that now you listen to the conversation that happen in the corridors, and it's all about, okay, we can work on that, but what's the impact that it's going to bring? Like we see that our teams are really absorbing that impact culture, and they are challenging each other based on impact. Yeah, okay. That's definitely like the biggest benefit that we are getting out of it. And this cultural change, I think that is being possible because we have integrated impact within our processes. Like every quarter, we launch a kind of a process to capture the impact of each and every team. So they know what we are working today is going to be measured in the next couple months. Like they have it very kind of ingrained in the day-to-day that, yeah, whatever we do, it needs to be linked to impact, because else, like, yeah, we are going to realize that what we are working on has not increased that intrinsic value of Glovo. So.
No, it makes sense. And I suppose, like, kind of looking at the future for Glovo now, what does that look like in like the next 12 to 18 months for data and analytics?
So I think part of it is going to be linked to what's going on in the industry. Like, I think that today, take aside this new AI and generative AI wave that is kind of in its own world right now, but yeah, every other company in our industry, which is the delivery industry, but many others, it is really about, we are not looking at growth anymore, we are looking at profit. Yeah. For data, that means that we are like, what right now we are doing, or what we are focused on, is optimizing the company, making it more efficient, and at the same time making our own organization data more efficient. Today we are heavily invested in tooling and in fixing some of our data foundations. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We have rolled out early versions of declarative or config-based platform for data engineering, for data science. We have built our own feature store, our own experimentation platform. We moved into data mesh about 1 year ago. And for all of this, we haven't fully realized the benefits. So we believe that our mission as a data organization is to make Glovo win with data. Yeah. Okay. And the long-term success of our business can only happen through data. Yeah, because it's a razor-thin type of margin industry that you need to become very efficient at what you're doing if you want to win. And we believe that winning means winning with data. So I believe that in 12 to 18 months, we will see all our key data already in our data mesh paradigm, with SLAs defined, SLAs monitored, they are met. We will use that foundational data that we have been creating for accelerating our data science cycle time. We will be putting models in production within the same day they are created. Yeah, this is one of part of the vision that we have for data science. So we want to give our teams the ability to test ideas very quickly. Yeah, for that we are also automating the way in which we analyze our experiments. Yeah. So essentially, I think that we are going to see innovation happening more frequently, okay, in more areas, and essentially extending the power of data to many other areas of the organization. And I think that for us, this is going to happen through leveraging the different new platforms that we have put in place that are going to shorten cycle time a lot and kind of democratize the way we execute data. And the good thing for us is that we are not in that stage in which everything is in ideation and maybe we do it. We have actually released all these platforms, and now it is a time for executing on that and kind of refining it and making them a lot more user-focused and so on. But we are now iterating on something that already exists. And I believe that over the next year is going to be kind of leveraging or harvesting all the value that we have been planting in the last year.
Yeah, definitely. It sounds like you've got a lot going on at Glovo, and I like the term you've used there, winning with data. It's an interesting term, I like it. Okay, fabulous. So yeah, there's been some really interesting insights in this interview today, Pablo. I think our audience will take a lot away from it. What would you want to say? What would you say the key takeaways are for the audience today?
I think that one of the things that I believe are valuable from our experience is that, like, everyone talks about value, and I've been reading on Medium, I've been even listening to your podcast. Like, this is so popular this day, and measuring the value that is brought by their organizations is really vogue these days. But I think that, like, for walking the talk, it is very important to integrate value with your processes, and that we have achieved through an impact framework, but there are other ways to do it. And I think that another key takeaway is that, for me, is that much of the benefit is going to be on the cultural change that happens through making everyone be focused on value.
Okay.
And those intangible benefits that you're going to have by having your teams really focus on how to increase the value for the company are really massive. And I encourage different companies to actually look at which ways they could implement this in their own company without compromising their ability to innovate, which is maybe the biggest challenge that we have when we are very focused on impact.
Amazing. Well, thank you very much for coming on the Food for Thought series, Pablo. It's been great speaking to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalia. Thanks for inviting me.
So hello and welcome to the Food for Thought series, where we'll be sitting down with current thought leaders in the data and analytics space to offer you a valuable insight into how they run their practices and their experiences. In today's mini interview, we'll be sitting down with Nedaa Agami, who is the Global Data Science Director at PepsiCo, where we'll be having a strategic discussion on how to use data science to achieve business excellence. So hello Nedaa, and welcome to the interview today. Let's set the scene for our audience. Now, I know that you have worked in both the academic and industry field. How did you get to where you are at PepsiCo, and what is it that you do?
Hi. Well, basically, I started my journey in the field almost 18 years ago as an academic person who is specialized in operations research and decision support, which is basically the wider umbrella of modeling, let's say. And upon advancing in my career, I came to a realization that there's a relatively huge gap between academia and industry. And therefore, in an attempt to kind of bridge this gap, I started my consulting career by joining the industry world as an analytics and modeling professional right after obtaining my master's degree. I continued to work in the industry in parallel while working in academia and pursuing my PhD degree. Over a course of 16 years, I've worked across various industries and domains, including telecom, finance and banking, education, pharmaceuticals, tourism, then most recently CPG, where I joined PepsiCo in my current role as the global global data science lead of supply chain and operations analytics, basically supporting the company on its digital transformation journey on that front.
Amazing, amazing. It sounds like you've done a lot, Nedaa, in your experience so far.
Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. So the topic that we're discussing today, so to go into our first question, so would you say there are common mistakes that businesses make at the beginning which can affect them in the long run?
Yeah, well, so basically, when we say data science and business excellence, or let's say try to couple both, the idea is how to leverage data science to lead an effective and sustainable business transformation, or basically, maybe in other words, how to harness analytics to create competitive edge for organizations. Yeah, the thing is, recently the adoption of data science and analytics became more tempting than ever. Because of, let's say, several factors. I would say maybe the confluence of data storage, algorithms, and computational power all together has actually set the stage for a wave of disruption. I would say even an aggressive one, where organizations strive to rapidly surf it. Corporate leaders want to rapidly adopt analytics and kind of enforce data-driven decision-making to accelerate business performance, And that, I would say, is usually the biggest mistake. It's more of even, let's say, a watch out, Business leaders need to be fully aware that even under the most supportive circumstances, the application and adoption of data science and advanced analytics is a long journey that can sometimes take years. It cannot be rushed, Organizations cannot just leap into immediate implementation of best practices as a knee-jerk kind of reaction, because primarily what worked for some organizations should not necessarily work for the rest. Rather, they need to prepare well for such a transformation and make sure that at least the key success factors are there.
Makes sense. So let's start at the beginning. So how do you determine the key success factors when going into this business transformation?
Corporate leaders usually start such a journey with huge investment in technology and data storage, or let's say data infrastructure. Although that's fundamental, it's simply not enough, as both technology and data themselves do not generate value. Ideally, they need to be paired with people who make sense of data and give it meaning through the use of technology. The ability to transform a business entails orders of magnitude, faster paced and forward-looking decisions. This essentially requires shifting the focus from merely using data as a resource and analytics as a decision support tool to making them a centerpiece of the enterprise strategy. In other words, I would say a routine boardroom discussion topic.
Okay.
That's critical. Finally, and maybe most importantly, they have to ensure readiness from a cultural perspective within the organization. Business leads need to establish an understanding of how to best use data for creating an impact through the employment of analytics. In fact, having the right tool in the wrong environment is actually a recipe for failure. You don't want to drive your Ferrari in the narrow roads of the city, then wonder if the experience didn't match your expectations.
Makes sense. Okay, so I suppose we understand that technologies such as analytics and AI have the potential to support businesses make better uses of their data. It would be interesting to find out how you establish an analytics-driven team.
Well, I think that's a twofold task. One is from an organizational structure perspective, and the other is from a skill set perspective. On the structure side, it can usually be either centralized or diffused, depending on the level of maturity from an analytics perspective, or what I would refer to as the analytics and data literacy of the business leads. If the organization is just starting the journey, I believe it is best if they adopt the centralized model, where actually one central team can provide modeling and analytics as a service to all stakeholders across the different functions organization-wide. And eventually, upon progressing in the journey, they should move towards a more diffused kind of a model where every function can have a specialized analytics unit for its maybe specific line of business. However, on the skill set side, or let's say capabilities perspective, I believe organizations should fundamentally strive to have the right analytics talent on board. That's key, or what I would refer to as the purple people. They basically should possess a blend of skills from both the technical folks, who are usually referred to with the red color, such as modeling, coding, and analysis as examples, and business folks, who are referred to with the blue color, like storytelling, critical thinking, and executive communication, just to name a few. Yeah, I know it's quite a tricky balance to achieve, but I would position it as an essential element for success in that respect.
No, that makes sense. Kind of like both skill sets come together. No, makes sense. And what challenges have you seen from this, I'd say, in your own personal experience?
Well, I think there are plenty of challenges in that context. However, I would say not all of them are equally critical. I believe the most critical ones are basically, first of all, the separation of data and business. Yeah. Ideally, they have to work together as integral components and not separate ones. That's one. The gap between insight and impact. That's another important challenge, in the sense that the generated insights have to be actionable in order to drive business decisions and hence value to the organization. Yeah. What else? Improper anchoring of analytics-driven culture at senior management levels. Yeah. Okay. That's a key as well. And I would say one of the biggest challenges also would be finding and hiring the right analytics talent. Yeah, starting with identifying the right analytics pool and eventually be able to have the right people on board.
Makes sense. And if you could guide other senior leaders in this space on certain principles on how to get to this place, what would be the advice that you would give there, Nedaa?
Well, based on my experience across different diverse industries, I would actually think of some, let's say, core guiding principles in that respect. I would say, first and foremost, everybody needs to realize that analytics is not a tool, but a new language that has to be adopted organization-wide. Yeah. Okay. That's one key thing. Another thing is that data is not a monopoly. It actually has to be democratized and shared where possible. Of course, as long as the right governing rules are put in place. Yeah. Again, I would say purple people are crucial to have on board. I would also say that change management is a key, in the sense that the importance of analytics needs to be properly socialized. Yeah. Sometimes managing change is more challenging and more important than change itself. Yeah. Makes sense. What else? Yeah, IT. IT is basically has to be regarded as an enabling partner and not a milestone in the process. Yeah. IT shouldn't be a showstopper or a roadblock at any stage to the progress of the overall, let's say, company towards digital transformation and adoption of data science and analytics. It's fundamentally an enabling partner. Yeah. And I would actually maybe add to this work business backwards and not data forward. Yeah, because when people say data driven, it becomes somehow confusing, and because actually data does not drive, data guides, and it actually guides depending on how well you use data to generate insights that can drive proper guidance. So I would say one important thing is actually work business backwards, not data forward. Yeah.
I like that saying, that data guides and data doesn't drive. I like that. It's a good saying. Okay, so for our audience today, what would you say the key takeaways would be, for other organizations that are thinking about becoming more analytics driven?
Well, to corporate leaders who are about to start their journey of transformation and really want their organization to get ahead of the curve, lead and potentially stay there. Yeah, because I mean, it's not about starting, it's about actually sustaining whatever you have achieved in the first place. I would say think big, but start small.
Okay.
and scale fast. Yeah, that's one thing. I would also say the best way to change a culture and have it stick is to do that in stages. Yeah, in that case, I would actually say crawl, walk, then run. Don't start by running at full speed. Again, reflecting back to, let's say, the common mistakes that we have identified at the very beginning. Yeah, speed is not always good, is not always positive. And I would say in order to have a successful and sustainable transformation, you have to adopt a business-driven strategy. Yeah.
Okay.
Not a data-driven strategy. Data is there to support. It's a tool at the end of the day. Yeah, but I mean, whatever that would guide the analytics roadmap or the data science practices during this journey should be primarily driven by the business strategy, because at the end of the day, what any corporate leader or organization would want to achieve is ultimately the strategic objectives of the company.
Makes sense. And what would you say to those senior leaders that are, that maybe are finding it difficult to change that culture within their organization at the minute?
Well, I think, again, I mean, it's a matter of determination and having the right setup. Yeah. People usually, like we mentioned before, just like put the investment and get started. I primarily believe that you need to have the right things in place for a right start. A right start would eventually enable a successful journey and a sustainable one. Otherwise, I think it's a recipe for failure.
Okay. Well, thank you for your insight today, Nedaa. It's been lovely to speak to you, and I think our audience will take a lot from this conversation. So thank you for taking part in the Food for Thought series.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me, and have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you.